In this video, we take a look at the world in 1792. Many events occurred in the United States in this year. Let's see what they were. Coinage Act, passed in April. This act established the United States Mint and set the ratio of silver to gold at 15:1. Presidential veto. President George Washington used the veto power for the first time in May, rejecting a bill to apportion representatives among states. Kentucky becomes a state. On June 1st, Kentucky became the 15th state in the United States. Columbia River Expedition. Captain Robert Gray became the first person to explore the Columbia River in May. Buttonwood Agreement. Signed in May, this agreement marked the beginning of the New York Stock Exchange. President's House Competition. President Washington requested a competition to design the President's House, which was won by Irish-born architect James Hoban. White House Cornerstone. The cornerstone for the Executive Mansion, White House, was laid in October. Presidential election. George Washington was unanimously re-elected as president. John Paul Jones dies. The Revolutionary War naval officer died in Paris in July. In 1792, many events occurred in Britain too. Thomas Paine's trial. Thomas Paine was an English-born American founding father, French revolutionary, inventor, and political philosopher. He was indicted for treason and fled to France. His trial in absentia began on December 18, 1792. St. Patrick's Church consecrated. The first St. Patrick's Church in London was consecrated on September 29, 1792. Baptist Missionary Society founded. The Baptist Missionary Society was founded in Kettering on October 2, 1792. Fox's Libel Act. The Fox's Libel Act was a law made in 1792 that gave the jury the power to decide if someone was guilty or not guilty of libel. Before this law, if someone was accused of libel, the jury had to find them guilty even if they didn't think the statement was really libelous. Petitions against the slave trade. Over 300 petitions were presented to Parliament against the slave trade. Mass emigration in the Scottish Highlands. Crofters emigrated in large numbers following clearances for grazing. Mass emigration from the Scottish Highlands was a result of the Highland clearances, a period of forced evictions that began in the mid-18th century and continued into the 19th century. The evictions destroyed the traditional clan system and led to the emigration of thousands of families. In 1792, France experienced a number of historical events. King Louis XVI was arrested in August 1792. On August 10, 1792, armed revolutionaries in Paris stormed the Tuileries Palace. This event was a defining moment in the French Revolution. On September 21, 1792, the National Convention abolished the monarchy and declared France a republic. This ended over 1,000 years of monarchical rule in France. In the spring of 1792, France declared war on Austria and Prussia. The war began on April 20, 1792, when the French Legislative Assembly declared war on Austria. The war was eventually turned back at the Battle of Valmy in September. In 1792, Russia experienced the Polish-Russian War and several battles. The war was a result of Tsarina Catherine the Great's belief that Poland's actions threatened Russian influence in the region. 6 battles happened between Russia and Poland. Polish-Russian War of 1792, Russia invaded Poland. Battle of Opsa, fought on May 26, 1792. Battle of Mir, fought on June 11, 1792. Battle of Borisgos, fought on June 14, 1792. Battle of Zeelands, fought on June 18, 1792. Battle of Dubienka, fought on July 18, 1792. In this battle, the Polish army under the command of General Tadeusz Kosciuszko defended the Bug River crossing against the Russian army under General Mikhail Kukowski. On January 9, 1792, the Ottoman Empire and Russia signed the Treaty of Jassy, ending the Russo-Turkish War of 1787 to 1792. The treaty was signed in Jassy, Moldavia, now Iași, Romania. Macartney Embassy in China. This British diplomatic mission aimed to establish greater trade opportunities with China, but was largely unsuccessful due to the Qing court's rigid policies and cultural expectations regarding foreign relations. Middle Kingdom mentality. The Qing court maintained a strong sense of China's superiority in the world, viewing itself as the Middle Kingdom and often limiting foreign interactions. In 1792, the most significant historical event in Japan was the devastating eruption of Mount Unzen, located in Kyushu, which triggered a massive landslide and tsunami, causing an estimated 15,000 deaths and marking the deadliest volcanic eruption in Japanese history. This event is considered one of the most catastrophic natural disasters in Japan's recorded history. Key details about the Mount Unzen eruption of 1792. The eruption began with an initial burst, followed by a large earthquake that triggered a landslide from the Meiyama Peak, a 4,000-year-old lava dome. The landslide swept through nearby areas and reached the Ariake Sea, generating a destructive tsunami that further devastated coastal communities. This event is considered the most deadly volcanic eruption in Japan's history due to the large number of casualties caused by the combined effects of the landslide and tsunami. In 1792, in Korean history, a significant event was the Sinmi Dangdang, or Sinmi Faction, political strife during the Joseon dynasty, where a group of conservative officials, known as the Sinmi Faction, attempted to regain power by criticizing the policies of King Jeongjo, leading to political turmoil and power struggles within the court. The Sinmi faction opposed King Jeongjo's progressive policies and his efforts to strengthen the royal power, particularly his close relationship with his father's loyalists who were previously marginalized. They used Confucian principles and accusations of political corruption to criticize the king and his administration, attempting to influence court decisions through petitions and public opinion. The Sinmi faction's actions contributed to a period of political instability within the Joseon dynasty, creating tension between the conservative and progressive factions of the court. In 1792, Joaquim José de Silva Xavier, also known as Tiradentes, was executed in Rio de Janeiro for his role in the Inconfidencia Mineira, a conspiracy against the Portuguese colonial regime. The Inconfidencia Mineira was a separatist political movement that took place in Brazil between 1788 and 1789. Tiradentes was a leader of the movement and a Brazilian patriot. He was nicknamed Tooth Puller because he was also a dentist. Tiradentes was captured in 1790, which ended the uprising. He was sentenced to death, but Queen Maria I commuted his sentence to banishment. However, he was executed in Rio de Janeiro on April 21, 1792. Tiradentes' execution led to the end of the Inconfidencia Mineira. He is now considered a martyr of Brazilian independence, and April 21st is celebrated as Tiradentes' Day, a national holiday in Brazil. In 1792, several events occurred in Canada. First elections in Lower Canada, held on June 11, 1792. First session of the Parliament of Lower Canada, opened on December 17, 1792. Jean-Antoine Paine elected Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, elected on December 18, 1792. First post office in Montreal opened on December 20th, 1792. In 1792, a significant event in African history was the first major migration of formerly enslaved Africans, known as Black Loyalists, to Sierra Leone, establishing the settlement of Freetown as a haven for freed slaves from Nova Scotia, marking a key moment in the abolitionist movement against the transatlantic slave trade. This migration was largely facilitated by the British government. This migration represented an early attempt to create a safe haven for freed slaves in Africa, contributing to the growing movement against slavery. In 1792, Sweden experienced several historical events. March 16, 1792, King Gustav III was shot in the back at a masked ball at the Royal Swedish Opera in Stockholm. The assassin was Jacob Johan Ankerström, who was part of a group of noblemen plotting to kill the king. March 29, 1792, King Gustav III died from a wound that became infected. He was succeeded by his minor son, Gustav IV Adolf. April 27, 1792, Ankerström was executed for regicide in Stockholm. July 1792, Gustav Adolf Reuterholm became the de facto regent of Sweden. Baron Gustav Adolf Reuterholm was a Swedish statesman. He acted as the de facto regent of Sweden during the minor regency of Gustav IV Adolf of Sweden between 1792 and 1796. December 20th, 1792, The Marriage of Figaro was performed for the first time in Sweden at the Stenborg Theatre in Stockholm. What do you think of these events? Is there any you want to add? Please share your idea with us. Thank you for watching.